Damen und Herren, hallo. Let me say willkommen to each and every one of us who are just tuning in. To those of you who are returning, let me say willkommen. To those of us who are also tuning in for the very first time, willkommen. You can call me Lehrer Fred. Now, today I want us to do, or I want us to go through this Sprechen. It's going to be a full A1 Sprechen. This one is in connection to the new 2024 Sprechen, yeah? So grab yourself a pen, a paper, as we're about to break this down in great details. Now, even as we proceed to this, I would also like to announce to us that our book is now officially launched. As you can see displayed on the screen, you are able to make a copy or make a purchase of your book. You can do, or you can purchase the soft copy from our website. Yeah, I will put the link in the description below so that you will be able to place an order of the ebook from our website. Okay. So let's now go ahead and have a clear look at the full A1 Sprechen. Okay. Now we're going to begin with the Teil 1. And you remember very well that your Teil 1 is always about self-introduction. This is the sich vorstellen, okay? The sich vorstellen. I have some words on the screen that I'm going to be using to fully introduce myself. I would highly recommend also you try and introduce yourself from your end, okay? Now, this is Teil 1. Remember, the name is sich vorstellen. I always encourage that when you're doing the expression, speak confidently. Don't be afraid of the mistakes. You realize that sometimes when you speak, you make a lot of mistakes. You pronounce something wrongly, and then you tend to be afraid. No, speak confidently. Make those mistakes as you practice continuously. Okay. So this Teil 1 is about sich vorstellen. Sich vorstellen, self-introduction. Now, the phrase I would ask you to please introduce yourself. Please introduce yourself. The phrase is bitte, that is bitte stellen Sie sich vor. Let me say it once again. Bitte stellen Sie sich vor, which now means please introduce yourself. All right. Now, once they say that, you just go ahead and begin with the introduction. Now, the first bit you have is on Name, your name. Now, kindly note that there are three ways of saying your name. You could either say, Mein Name ist. Don't say meine. No, it's mine because Name is masculine. Yeah? So, mein Name ist. That's the first way. Mein Name ist. The second way you could also say your name is Ich heiße. Again, don't say heiße. Instead is heiße. Ich heiße. Ich heiße. And then you say your name. Or the final way you could say your name is Ich bin. Ich bin. I am. And then you progress to say your name. So we said is Mein Name ist. Mein Name ist. Or Ich heiße. Ich heiße. I'm called. Or lastly, Ich bin. I am. All right. Now, after your Name, you now progress to Alter, your age. Now, how do you say your Alter? Now, when saying your Alter, you simply say Ich bin. That is Ich bin. Then you mention the figure. At the end, you say Jahre alt. Now, please ensure the Jahre is capital J. Jahre alt. Ich bin, and then I say the figure, and then Jahre alt. Now, the Jahre should be capital J. Okay. Now, after the alt, I progress to land, the country, land. So, how do you say I come from? Simply go ahead and say Ich komme aus. Ich komme aus. And then you say a country. Maybe in my case I would say Ich komme aus, for example, Kenya. Ich komme aus Amerika. Ich komme aus Uganda. Ich komme aus, as you proceed in that order, right? That is on the country, the land. Then you have the Wohnort. Now, Wohnort is your residence. Where do you live? Simply say, Ich wohne. Ich wohne in, right? Ich wohne in, and then you say the place that you stay in. Then I have Sprachen. Now, guys, kindly note there's a video I did on this about Sprachen specifically. Now, you can see this is Sprachen with capital S, which now means languages. Sprachen, languages. All right? Now, the verb is sprechen, to speak. Sprechen, to speak. So I have to say, I speak. Ich spreche. If you say ich sprache, that is wrong. It's like you're saying I language. No, instead you say ich spreche. So maybe somebody could give an example. Ich spreche Englisch, Deutsch und Swahili. Ich spreche Englisch, Swahili und Deutsch. All right? So kindly note it is spreche, to speak. Then you have the Beruf. Beruf, your profession. So how do you say your Beruf, your profession? Now you'd simply say, Ich bin. Ich bin. I am. Now if I want to say student, simply say, Ich bin Student for male student. How about female? Ich bin Studentin. Now in my case, I want to say I'm a teacher. Ich bin Lehrer. That is a male teacher. Female. Ich bin Lehrerin. All right. Now you're saying that professions, the ladies tend to have the ending in. Student, Studentin, Lehrer, Lehrerin, Pilot, Pilotin, as you proceed in that order. Then I have the last one, which is hobby. Hobby. Now here again, you have to be careful because it will depend if you're saying one hobby or more than one hobby. Now if you're only saying one, you'll say, mein Hobby ist. Mein Hobby ist, if it's only one. But if you're saying two or more hobbies, now you have to say, meine Hobbys sind. Meine Hobbys sind. My hobbies are. And then you progress to mention your various types of hobbies. All right? So at this point, then, I want to fully introduce myself. And then afterwards, we would ask some questions before proceeding to part number 2, right? So here is now a full introduction of myself without any pauses in between. And then afterwards, I would also recommend you try introducing yourself, okay? So I go. Mein Name ist Frederick Onyango. Ich bin 36 Jahre alt. Ich komme aus Kenia. Ich wohne in Kisumu. Ich spreche Englisch, Swahili, Deutsch, Luo und Spanisch. Ich bin Lehrer von Beruf. Meine Hobbys sind Tanzen, Singen, Musik hören und kochen. Now, after you will have been done introducing yourselves, there are a couple of questions you might be asked. Now, let me take one of them. They could ask me, please spell your family name. That is, bitte buchstabieren Sie. Bitte buchstabieren Sie. Which now means, please spell, right? So, bitte buchstabieren Sie Ihren Familienname, which now means please spell your family name. So I would simply spell as O-U-M-A. All right? And imagine just like that, you will have completed your Teil 1. That is how you'll have completed your Teil 1. Now, before I proceed to part number 2, I would recommend you pause here and then you try introducing yourself. Then afterwards, you can come and play back so that you now see part number 2. All right, so that is the end of part number 1. Let's now proceed to part number 2. What happens in part number 2? Let's now talk about the Teil 2. Now, we need to be informed that the Teil 2 is about forming questions, right? Fragen stellen, forming questions. Now, what happens in part number 2 is that you shall be given cards, and these cards are having words on them, yeah? So you are supposed to use these cards to form questions. Now, most people normally confuse part number 2 with part number 3. Please don't confuse. This part number 2, you're getting cards with words. You are to use those words to form questions, okay? Now, if you have a look at the card that I've just placed on the screen, is this, that the card is having some small writings on them. At the very top, there's the word written tema. Tema. Now, tema normally means theme, right? Tema normally means theme, all right? Now, like in this case, the theme you've been given is Sprachkurs, right? Sprachkurs. Now, Sprachkurs simply means language course, a language course. And then the word you've been given here is Hausaufgabe. Hausaufgabe. Now, another thing I need to point to us is this, that when you're forming the question, it is not necessarily that the tema has to appear literally in your question, because sometimes you might form a question around the context of the tema given, yeah? Now remember, the tema is simply the context of your question forming, the context. Like in this case, you can see the context is about Sprachkurs, that is language course, right? It doesn't mean that the tema has to literally or word for word appear in a question. You could use it or you could not use it, okay? So my tema here is Sprachkurs, and the word I've been given is Hausaufgabe, homework, all right? So remember, as I've said, you don't need to use the tema specifically in the question. You could mention the tema, or you could just, what actually needs to appear in a question is that word Hausaufgabe, homework, all right? Now, some of the, one of the questions you could ask from here is, wann machen Sie, wann machen Sie Ihre Hausaufgabe von dem Sprachkurs? Look at that question. Wann machen Sie Ihre Hausaufgabe von dem Sprachkurs? Now, when are you doing your homework? When are you doing your homework from the language course? When are you doing your homework from the language course? Right? And then I could just say, 8 Uhr. 8 Uhr, at 8 o'clock, right? Now, somebody could also go ahead and ask you a question with, warum machst du deine Hausaufgabe nicht? Warum machst du deine Hausaufgabe nicht? Why are you not doing your homework? Warum machst du deine Hausaufgabe nicht? And I could say, ich bin leider sehr beschäftigt heute. Ich bin leider sehr beschäftigt heute. Unfortunately, I am very busy today. Ich bin leider sehr beschäftigt heute. Unfortunately, I am very busy today. Okay, let's get the last question you could ask with the word you've given here, Hausaufgabe. I could say, wie kann ich dir die Hausaufgabe schicken? Wie kann ich dir die Hausaufgabe schicken? How can I send you the homework? How can I send you the homework? So someone wants to ask, how can I send you the homework? And then I could respond, per email bitte. Per email bitte. That is via email, please. All right. Okay, then now let's go ahead and see the next word. So the next card I have here is Koffer. Now, be informed that Koffer simply means a suitcase. Can be a suitcase, a briefcase, right? The one you use when you're traveling. And then the term you've been given here is Reisen. Reisen. You remember, Reisen simply means to travel, right? Travel, trip. It is a trip if it doesn't have the N, right? So Reisen with an N means a trip. Or, to travel, right? Okay, now the first possible question I could ask here is, warum reisen Sie ohne Ihre Koffer? Warum reisen Sie ohne Ihre Koffer? Why are you traveling without your suitcases? Why are you traveling without your suitcases? Then I could say, ich trage nicht viele Sachen. Ich trage nicht viele Sachen. I am not carrying a lot of things. Okay. And then another possible question I could ask here is, mit welchem Koffer, that is, mit welchem Koffer reisen Sie? Which which suitcase are you traveling with? Mit welchem Koffer reisen Sie? Then I could say, mit dem schwarzen Koffer. Mit dem schwarzen Koffer, with the black suitcase. Right? So that was the card that I have here. You've now seen on the two possible ways, or you've seen on the two cards that could be brought in this part. So remember, the emphasis in this part is that you get a card with a word. You are to use that word to form a question. Kindly remember that the tema is simply the context. All right? You don't have to use it literally in a word. The tema is simply the context. So I'd like you to also go ahead and form your own questions using Hausaufgabe and also Koffer. You could share your comments or your questions in the comment section below, okay? Okay, then let's now see the last part. Let's now jump to the very final part. That is Teil 3. And that is going to be on formation of requests. Now let's proceed with Teil 3. Now remember, in part number 3, you're now getting cards with photos. And this part now you're supposed to go ahead and form requests. Part 2, we have formed questions. Now in part number 3, we are now to form requests. So I have some two cards here. And the first picture that I have here is Obst. Remember, Obst is fruit, right? Obst simply means fruit of fruits, right? So I could form the following request that bitte kauf mir Obst. You remember how to punctuate requests. You have to punctuate with an exclamation mark at the end, yeah? So you say, bitte kauf mir Obst. Please buy me a fruit. Buy me fruit. I could say, das ist leider nicht möglich. Let me say the request again. It is, bitte kauf mir Obst. Please buy me fruit. That would say, das ist leider nicht möglich. Das ist leider nicht möglich. That is unfortunately not possible. Now the second request I could give here is, bring mir bitte das Obst. Bring mir bitte das Obst. Please bring me the fruit. Please bring me the fruit. Bring mir bitte das Obst. To which you could respond by saying, das mache ich. Das mache ich. I'm doing that. Or, yeah, I'm doing that. Okay. Then the last request I could give here is, essen Sie das Obst bitte. Essen Sie das Obst bitte. Eat the fruit, please. They would say, gerne. Gerne, gladly. Gerne. Gerne can mean gladly, can mean of course, along those lines, okay? All right. Okay, then let's get the last card. And the last card that you have here, you can see it's a picture of people dancing, Leute, and they're tanzen, the dancing, okay? So I could form the first request here with saying, bitte gehen Sie heute tanzen. Bitte gehen Sie heute tanzen. Please go dancing today. Please go dancing today. And I could respond by saying, das kann ich nicht. Das kann ich nicht. I cannot do that, right? So, bitte gehen Sie heute tanzen. Please go dancing today. And they say, das kann ich nicht. I cannot do that. Now, the final one I could use here is, tanzen Sie hier nicht. Tanzen Sie hier nicht. Tanzen Sie hier nicht. That means don't dance here. Do not dance here. Tanzen Sie hier nicht. Which now means do not dance here. To which you could respond by saying, okay, okay, all right. Now, that was a full Sprechen from part one to part two and part number three. Now, as I announced earlier during the beginning of the video, is that we now have our book launched. This is a nice, simplified book, which has helped a number of our students crush their German skills understanding. Yeah, would recommend you check our website attached in the description, and also in the first comment pinned. You are able to get yourself a copy of the ebook. Kindly go ahead and click on that. So if there is no further question up until this point, I would like to say, das ist alles für heute. Tschüss, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.